An account of the procuring of the smallpox by incision or inoculation. For the LibriVox Coffee Break Collection 11, Science. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. An account of the procuring of the smallpox by incision or inoculation, as it has for some time been practiced at Constantinople, being an extract of a letter from Emmanuel Timonius, M.D. S.R.S., dated Constantinople, December 1713, communicated by John Woodward, M.D. and S.R.S., number 339, page 72. The doctor observes that the Circassians, Georgians, and other Asiatics have introduced this practice of procuring the smallpox by a sort of inoculation for about 40 years among the Turks and others at Constantinople. That though at first the more prudent were very cautious in the use of this practice, yet the happy success it has been found to have in thousands of subjects for these 8 years past has now put it out of all suspicion and doubt, since the operation having been performed on persons of all ages, sexes, and different temperaments, and even in the worst constitution of the air, yet none have been found to die of it, where at the same time it was very mortal when it seized the patient in the common way, of which half the affected died. This the doctor attests from his own observation. He next observes that such as have this inoculation practised on them are subject to very slight symptoms, some being scarcely sensible they are ill or sick, and, what is valued by the fair, it never leaves any scars or pits in the face. The method of the operation is thus. Choice being made of a proper contagion, the matter of the pustules is to be communicated to the person proposed to take the infection, whence it has, metaphorically, the name of incision or inoculation. For this purpose they pitch upon some boy or young lad of a sound healthy temperament that is seized with the common smallpox, of the distinct, not confluent kind, on the 12th or 13th day from the beginning of his sickness. They with the needle prick the tubercles, chiefly those on the shins and hams, and press out the matter coming from them into some convenient glass vessel or the like, to receive it, and it is proper to wash and clean the vessel first with warm water. A convenient quantity of this matter being thus collected, is to be stopped close and kept warm in the bosom of the person that carries it, and as soon as may be brought to the place of the expecting future patient, who being in a warm chamber, the operator is to make several little wounds with a needle, in 1, 2, or more places of the skin, till some drops of blood follow, and immediately drop out some drops of the matter in the glass, and mix it well with the blood issuing out. 1 drop of the matter is sufficient for each place pricked. These punctures are made indifferently in any of the fleshy parts, but succeed best in the muscles of the arm or radius. The needle is to be a 3-edged surgeon's needle. It may likewise be performed with a lancet. The custom is to run the needle transverse, and rip up the skin a little, that there may be a convenient dividing of the part, and the mixing of the matter with the blood more easily performed, which is done either with a blunt style or an ear picker. The wound is covered with half a walnut shell, or the like concave vessel, and bound over, that the matter be not rubbed off by the clothes. The patient is to be careful of his diet. In this place the custom is, to abstain wholly from flesh and broth for 3 or 4 weeks. This operation is performed either in the beginning of the winter or in the spring. Some, for caution, order the matter to be brought from the sick by a third person, lest any infection should be conveyed by the clothes of the operator, but this is not material. As to the process of this matter, in respect to the idiosyncrasy, the smallpox begins to appear sooner in some than in others, in some with greater, in others with less symptoms, but with happy success in all. In this place the efflorescence commonly begins at the end of the 7th day, which seems to favor the doctrine of crises. It was observed, in a year when the common smallpox was very mortal, that those by incision were also attended with greater symptoms. Of 50 persons who had the incision made on them almost in the same day, 4 were found in whom the eruption was too sudden, the tubercles more, and symptoms worse. There was some suspicion that these 4 had caught the common smallpox before the incision was made. It is enough for our present purpose that there was not one but recovered after the incision. In those 4 the smallpox came near the confluent kind. At other times the inoculated are distinct, few and scattered. Commonly 10 or 20 break out. Here and there one has but 2 or 3, Few have 100. There are some in whom no pustule rises, but in the places where the incision was made, which swell up into purulent tubercles, yet these have never had the smallpox afterwards in their whole lives, though they have cohabitated with persons having it. It is to be noted that a no small quantity of matter runs for several days from the place of the incision. The pox arising from this operation are dried up in a short time and fall off, partly in thin skins, and partly, contrary to the common sort, vanish by an insensible wasting. The matter is hardly a thick pus as in the common, but a thinner kind of sanies, whence they rarely pit, except at the place of the incision, where the cicatrices left are not to be worn out by time, and whose matter comes near the nature of pus. If an apostem breaks out on any, which infants are most subject to, yet there is nothing to be feared, for it is safely healed by suppuration. If any other symptom happens, it is easily cured by the common remedies. Observe, they scarcely ever make use of the matter of the inoculated pox for a new incision. If this inoculation be made on persons who have before had the smallpox, they find no alteration, and the places pricked presently dry up, except in an ill habit of body, where possibly a slight inflammation and exulceration may happen for a few days. To this time, he says, I have known but one boy on whom the operation was performed, and yet he had not the smallpox, but without any mischief, and some months after catching the common sort he did very well. It is to be observed that the places of the incision did not swell. I suspect this child prevented the insertion of the matter, for he struggled very much under the operation, and there wanted help to hold him still. The matter to be inserted will keep in the glass very well for 12 hours. I have never, he adds, observed any mischievous accident from this incision hitherto, and although such reports have been sometimes spread among the vulgar, yet having gone on purpose to the houses whence such rumours have arisen, I have found the whole to be absolutely false. It is now 8 years since I have been an eyewitness of these operations, and to give a greater proof of the sedulity I have used in this disquisition, I shall relate 2 histories. In a certain family, a boy of 3 years old was afflicted with the falling sickness, the king's evil, an hereditary pox, and a long marasmus. The parents were desirous to have the incision made upon him. The smallpox were thrown off with ease. About the 40th day he died of his marasmus. In another family, a girl of 3 years old was troubled with the like fits, strumus, attended with an hereditary lues, and laboring under a colliquative looseness for 3 months. The operation was performed on this child. She came off very well of the smallpox, which was all over the 15th day. On the 32nd she died of her looseness, which had never left her the whole time. But it is true, I never maintain the inoculation as a panacea or a cure for all diseases, nor do I think it proper to be attempted on persons like to die. Then follows a long etiologia respecting the manner in which this author supposes the various contagion to act upon the human body. He supposes it to act upon the mass of blood after the manner of a ferment or leaven, and that all the symptoms which take place in the natural or inoculated smallpox are to be accounted for in the first instance from the commotion excited in the blood, and thence upon the constitution at large; in the next place from the defecation or separation of the vitiated particles from the healthy, etc., etc. Respecting a theory now universally exploded, it cannot be necessary to enter into further particulars. End of An Account of the Procuring of the Smallpox by Incision or Inoculation, communicated by John Woodward, M.D. and S.R.S.